The Digimon Frontier Fusion Spirits. In Digimon Frontier, Aldamon and Beowulfmon were very obvious fusings of their prior spirits. You can see how Aldamon very clearly is comprised of Agunimon and Vitramon, and you can see how Beowulfmon is comprised of Wolfmon and Garamon. And as it tends to be in the Digimon anime, it was only these two that actually showed up in Frontier itself. However, later on, we would see the fusion spirits for the other non-evil or corrupted Digimon Frontier spirits, with Rhymon being a pretty excellent fusion of Kaiser Leomon and Loemon, JetSilphymon being an okay, at least spiritual fusion of the more technological Fairymon half and the more animalistic Shatumon half. However, DaiPenmon I have never been super fond of. Well, they have kind of fixed it in non-Frontier media by often having Penguinmon digivolve into Chakmon. It's probably the biggest Frontier fandom meme to kind of poke fun at DaiPenmon, as not only does it not combine really anything of Chakmon and Blizzamon, I guess you could say charitably the two popsicles are Blizzamon's axes, it also doesn't resemble the ancient warrior, ancient Megatheriumon either. And while RhinoKabuterimon does resemble ancient Beatmon, it really to me loses any of the cool futuristic cyborg elements that make Blitzmon and Bolgmon so cool. So that's our raison d'etre today. I have got some of the best artists in the Digimon game to come over and fix the Frontier Fusion Spirits. What is up, digital companions? My name is Karn EX and welcome back to a much requested video. And as a reminder, these videos are made possible thanks to the subscribe button, which you should definitely hit. I would love to be able to hit 100,000 subscribers in the next year or so. It would be great for the year of new Digimon anime and Time Stranger. But also these videos are brought to you by patreon.com/Karn EX. We have many tiers over there, but directly we have the Deva and the Sovereign tiers. And I want to give a huge shout out to my Sovereign ZDK14 and my Deva's GW Murby Studios and Hefe von Coughing, as well as Ranma Greyfire, who was a Sovereign and helped for this video, and Hylarin, who was a Deva. Thank you to my Sovereign, my Deva, and everyone else who supports me over on patreon.com/Karn EX to make these custom art videos possible. And I do want to say, when we're talking about fixing in these videos, that really just makes for a good title. I think the idea of coming into someone else's art and saying, oh, hey, fixed it for you is kind of cringe. It's just unfortunately what works best in the YouTube algorithm, but really this is more just our take on what I think the Digimon Frontier Fusion Spirit should be like. And this is a much requested video. Now, the active watchers among you will know we have done some Digimon Frontier Fusion Spirit art before, where we did the evil spirits and the corrupted counterpart to Rhymon for the corrupted darkness spirits. You can go watch that video now, or the big compilation of Frontier custom art video I did at the start of this year, but I think these guys are going to be useful because they're going to illustrate what I've learned from that video and what we're bringing into this video going forward. So we had RhinoKabuterimon, getting its name from King Laurin, a dwarf king designed by Weirdomon, the Spirit of Earth. And you can very obviously see elements of Grottemon and Gigasmon here, that is very clear, and even ancient Volcanomon, so I am very happy with how this came together. It does combine all three of those Digimon. Likewise, I think does Dryadramon, created by some guy 944. You can see the combinations of Arbamon, Petaldramon, and with these wooden gears, even ancient Troyamon. I also think some guy 944's Volgamon, the Spirit of Steel fusion coming from the Vulgate, the Latin Bible, and something vulgar, is very clear in being a fusion of Mercurymon and Sephirothmon. While it does like a little bit of ancient Wisemon, at least the coloration is there. Dry, ironically enough, nailed the water spirit fusion Tortugamon with very clear elements of Ranamon, Halamaramon, and even ancient Mermaimon. And then Rubix with Grendelmon, a great counterpart to Rhymon first of all, getting its name from Grendel, the enemy of Beowulf, which keeps that Norse theming that Velgamon has its name coming from Hreisvelga, another figure in Norse mythology, and you can 100% see how this combines Duskmon and said Velgamon. There's no corrupted ancient spirit of darkness, so maybe this does like a little bit of ancient Sphinxmon, but you can kind of see it being in the hands at least. However, I would say the main overarching problem that all of these have, despite being very good, is they wouldn't make for great toys. And this is something I've gone back and forth with creating this entire video. Digimon Frontier, in fact all Digimon seasons, at least up until the modern day, are kind of created with toy lines in mind. That's why the armor Digimon work the way they do. The armor pieces split apart and can be put onto the rookie body to create a form, but could be put on in different ways to create different forms for different Digimon. And the same is true in Digimon Frontier. The toys of the human and beast spirits are supposed to combine to be able to make the fusion spirits. This is also true for the figures of Kaiser Greymon and Magna Garurimon being able to merge together to make Susanoo-mon. So realistically, if this happened during the run of Digimon Frontier, all of our spirits should look not just like they're inspired by elements of their human and beast spirits, but like they are direct fusions using bits of them, like a Megazord toy. However, I don't know if that would be the case now. Again, as we have to consider, Rhyhemon, JetSilphymon, DaiPenmon, and RhinoKabuterimon did come out after Frontier when selling toys wasn't an issue, which is why I think Rhyhemon works fantastically and JetSilphymon works okay. And then DaiPenmon and RhinoKabuterimon, So I wanted to kind of strike a balance with this video when I commissioned the artists. I wanted to have art that very believably looks like a fusing of the human and beast spirit, which some of the existing fusion Digimon do not, fold in the ancient warrior, and also where possible at least be physically a little bit viable as a toy. However, I'm not going to fully commit to the toy line thing if I think a design would be better than if we just had to forcibly kit bash a human and beast spirit. So we begin with JetSilphymon, and honestly I considered not doing JetSilphymon at all because I do think it's quite good. However, three factors became apparent to me. First of all, it completely lacks anything of ancient Eiriasmon, and second of all, the plane theme, while it makes sense for the whole flying concept of the wind spirits, I think ultimately just kind of comes from nowhere. So again, this is not necessarily fixed, this is just an alternate take from some guy 944, AeroSilphymon. Now obviously this is a much more clear fusing of Fairymon and Shutumon, with the bird-like wings and the Fairymon body. However, the hair becomes much more feather-like and starts to grow out in comparison to Fairymon, starting to resemble a little more the headpiece of ancient Eiriasmon. It's very subtle, but I think it does work, and as an alternate take on JetSilphymon, I think AeroSilphymon is more close to specifically what we saw in Aldamon and Beowulfmon, a direct fusing of its previous forms. AeroSilphymon is a Digimon that possesses power over wind that has transcended legend by inheriting all the might of one of the legendary 10 warriors and acquiring unknown abilities. It is able to soar on any wind current using its majestic wings. Its special moves are the Ultra Turbulent Slash, where it uses its powerful claws in a death spiral, and the Wind Glow Assault, where its wings light up and fire a volley of energy missiles. Then is RhinoKabuterimon, and I commissioned all trade for this one. Original RhinoKabuterimon definitely, as I say, is close to ancient Beatmon, but I really wanted more of those Bolgmon and Blitzmon elements to be folded in here, and I think all trade hit a fantastic compromise with RhinoKabuterimon 2.0. I love the idea of the railgun of Bolgmon being turned into this kind of energy lance, and that kind of more combined Megazord feel working into the design, with the general kind of Blitzmon body up top, especially with the headpiece, but using a very familiar RhinoKabuterimon-esque head as the shield. My interpretation here is that RhinoKabuterimon is a potential evolution in the Thunder Spirit group, perhaps some kind of like lost version of ancient Beatmon. So I think it's a nice little nod to what we've had before, that this shield does look like RhinoKabuterimon, but isn't necessarily formed from it. It's a great design with lots of little touches, and it really does have that kind of like Playmo or toy feel to it, while still feeling like a unique design. Some of this obviously wouldn't literally be able to be made from a Bolgmon toy and a Blitzmon toy. You would need extra parts. It's really fantastic. In all trade's opinion, RhinoKabuterimon would have worked better as the Beast Spirit and Bolgmon as the Fusion Spirit, and I do agree, but this new RhinoKabuterimon 2.0 kind of solves the issue both ways, keeping up that metallic robotic feel and that very intrinsic Beetle vibe. As all trade said, all the mobility of the human spirit with the defensive strength and firepower of the beast spirits. RhinoKabuterimon is a Digimon whose power over thunder exceeds that of legend, due to the unknown powers it obtained by fully inheriting the might of the 10 legendary warriors. RhinoKabuterimon is capable of moving at the speed of lightning, and its shell is so heavily armored to mean that even equally fast opponents cannot get one strike on in it. Its shield could almost be mistaken for that of a dinosaur-type Digimon, and it uses this to its advantage, putting the shield over its face to act like an even more intimidating presence to its foes. It has the ability to generate a special magnetic field using an ultra-high voltage electric current, which it manipulates using its railgun lance. Its special move, Condenser Storm, involves waving that horn lance around in grand fashion while releasing all of the electricity stored up in its body to trap trap foes in a lightning storm. It also has Thunder Laser, where it fires all its pent-up electric energy like a laser beam. But that finally brings us to fixing DaiPenmon, and again, I hate to use the word fixing here. This is our take on a fusion of Chakmon and Blizzamon. This was always going to be tough, but I knew I could put this in the hands of Rubik's, and they have delivered by creating what I want to call a Bombimon. But I think we might have used the name Abomimon in another video, so if we have, I might call it Shurenmon, the Chinese equivalent of the Yeti being Shuren. And I really think this is a great coming together of Chakmon and Blizzamon. This would be quite a large Digimon, kind of the same scale as DaiPenmon, very big, a large Yeti or abominable snowman, but you can easily see how this is a fusing of its human and beast spirits over DaiPenmon. It also ties in my opinion, much better into Ancient Megatheriumon. Not perfectly, but there's at least elements you can see there that could also belong to Ancient Megatheriumon, which you definitely can't see in DaiPenmon. However, I have developed a little bit of a soft spot for DaiPenmon, so I did instruct Rubik's when they were drawing the axes that were on the back of this new form for the ice spirits, so the axes should gain a blue and red hue, just like DaiPenmon's giant popsicles. Due to its furriness, this might just not work great as a toy, but I at least think there is a way that you could get a Chakmon figure and a Blizzamon figure and turn them into this Digimon. It wouldn't require a ton of work. And honestly, to me, this feels like something that should have happened. Blizzamon as a beast spirit had, well, basically no clothes, and Chakmon had more of these kind of like straps and headgear. So combining those two elements, I actually think works incredibly well. While recording this, it has occurred to me that we don't have a new rocket launcher for this Digimon, and that is perhaps something I would have asked Rubik's to add, but obviously these videos take a lot of time and preparation. Not every single idea can be factored in, so maybe consider that this guy does have an even bigger rocket launcher as well as his two axes. But I think it's come together absolutely beautifully, and I do think those straps and headpieces that Chakmon have on a more Blizzamon-like body is a perfect combination for a fusion spirit. A Digimon whose power over ice exceeds that of legend due to the unknown powers it obtained by fully inheriting the might of the 10 legendary warriors. Shurenmon is a warrior of the cold, carrying two axes formed of chrome Digizoid and giant hunks of ice. Shurenmon is the true successor of the Spirit of Ice and will accept no pretenders to its throne. A ferocious animalistic Digimon with a brain that would rival a human commander. It uses its twin axes to enact Blue Hawaiian Death and Strawberry Death, as Shurenmon claims that is the flavor of its two axes. Of course, any other Digimon that would get to taste the steel would never be able to report on the flavor. Alright, that is it. Our reworked Digimon Frontier Fusion Spirits. For this video, we created JetSilphymon, RhinoKabuterimon 2.0, and Abomimon or Shurenmon. And of course, remember, we have also created Larinamon, Dryadramon, Volgamon, Tortugamon, and Grendelmon, and taking our three new spirits and put alongside specifically Aldamon, Beowulfmon, and Raihimon, I do think they work a lot more cohesively. Better is of course subjective, and I still have a lot of love for DaiPenmon, RhinoKabuterimon, and JetSilphymon. This is just an alternate take. Make sure you go follow the artists on their social media, link down below, and you can subscribe to me here, of course, that would mean the world, as well as if you wanted to, become a patron over on patreon.com/Karn EX, like my Sovereign, DDK14, my Davers, and everyone else who supports this channel. It does help custom art videos like these get made. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll see you next time when we go digital. Bye bye.